Hello and welcome to Cloud Learner's Journey Part 5 of Azure Administrator Associate Real Exam Questions and Answers with explanation and references, which you can find in the description. So let's get started. Don't forget to subscribe to our Cloud Learner's Journey YouTube channel to help you pass the AZ-104 exam and become an Azure Administrator Associate. Question number 1. Your company has virtual machines hosted in Microsoft Azure. The VMs are located in a single Azure virtual network named VNet1. The company has users that work remotely. The remote workers require access to the VMs on VNet1. You need to provide access for the remote workers. What should you do? Options are A. Configure a site-to-site VPN. B. Configure a VNet to VNet VPN. C. Configure a point-to-site VPN. D. Configure direct access on a Windows Server 2012 server VM. E. Configure a multi-site VPN. And the correct option is C. Configure a point-to-site VPN. A point-to-site VPN gateway connection lets you create a secure connection to your virtual network from an individual client computer. Next, question number 2. Your company's Azure subscription includes Azure virtual machines that run Windows Server 2016. One of the VMs is backed up every day using Azure Backup Instant Restore. When the VM becomes infected with data encrypting ransomware, you decide to recover the VM's file. Which of the following is true in this scenario? And the options are: you can only recover the files to the infected VM. B. You can recover the files to any VM within the company subscription. C. You can only recover the files to a new VM. D. You will not be able to recover the files. And the correct option is A. You can only recover the files to the infected VM. We have the same type of question in part 4, but question is different. Here it asked to recover the VM's file, but in part 4 it asked to restore the VM. Instant Restore helps Azure Backup customers quickly recover VMs from the snapshots stored along with the disk. This eliminates the wait time for the snapshots to copy to the vault before a restore can be triggered. Next, question number 3. You have an Azure subscription that contains an Azure storage account named Storage Account 1. You export Storage Account 1 as an Azure Resource Manager template. The template contains the following sections. Here you see the type, which is the Microsoft.storage/storage account. The Microsoft.storage is the resource provider, and the storage account is the resource type. Name is Storage Account 1. Location is East US. You see the further options down below. For each of the following statements, select yes if the statement is true, otherwise select no. In the answer area, we have 3 statements. A server that has a public IP address of 131.107.103.10 can access Storage Account 1. And the correct option is yes. Virtual network rules and IP rules are blank with the default action allow. Second statement, individual blobs in Storage Account 1 can be set to use the archive tier. And the correct option is yes. Individual blobs can be set to the archive tier as per the screenshot that has been provided. Third statement, global administrators in Azure Active Directory can access a file share hosted in Storage Account 1 by using their Azure ID credentials. And the correct option is no. To access blob data in the Azure portal with Azure AD credentials, a user must have the data access role, such as Storage Blob Data Reader or Storage Blob Data Contributor, or the Azure Resource Manager Reader role at the minimum. Next, question number 4. You have an Azure storage account named Storage1 that contains a blob container named Container1. You need to prevent new content added to Container1 from being modified for 1 year. What should you configure? And the options are A. The access tier. B. An access policy. C. The access control IAM settings. D. The access level. And the correct option is an access policy. Time-based retention policies can be used. With the time-based retention policies, users can set policies to store data for a specified interval. When a time-based retention policy is set, objects can be created and read, but not modified or deleted. After the retention period has expired, objects can be deleted, but not overwritten. Next, question number 5. You have an Azure subscription named Subscription 1. Subscription 1 contains the resources in the following table. We have the columns name and the type, and we see RG1, RG2, VNet1, and VNet2. VNet1 is in RG1, VNet2 is in RG2. There is no connectivity between VNet1 and VNet2. An administrator named admin1 creates an Azure virtual machine named VM1 in RG1. VM1 uses a disk named disk1 and connects to VNet1. Admin1 then installs a custom application in VM1. You need to move the custom application to VNet2. The solution must minimize administrative effort. Which two actions should you perform? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. And we see the answer area for the first action. Option is delete VM1. And for the second action, the option is create a new virtual machine. We cannot just move a virtual machine between networks. What we need to do is identify the disk used by the VM, delete the VM itself while retaining the disk, and recreate the VM in the target virtual network, and then attach the original disk. Please be aware that you can change the subnet VM is connected to after it's created, but you cannot change the VNet1. Next, question number 6. Your company has an Azure Active Directory subscription. You want to implement an Azure AD conditional access policy. The policy must be configured to require members of the Global Administrators Group to use multi-factor authentication and an Azure AD joint device when they connect to Azure AD from untrusted locations. Here the solution is you access the Azure portal to alter the session control of the Azure AD conditional access policy. Does the solution meet the goal? And the options are A, yes, B, no. And the correct option is B, no. Conditional access policies support built-in roles, and they are not enforced for other role types, including administrative units, scoped, or custom roles. Next, question number 7. Your company has an Azure Active Directory subscription. You want to implement an Azure AD conditional access policy. The policy must be configured to require members of the Global Administrator Group to use multi-factor authentication and an Azure AD joint device when they connect to Azure AD from untrusted locations. And here the solution is you access the multi-factor authentication page to alter the user settings. And the options are A, yes, B, no. And the correct option is B, no. Conditional access policies are configured from the Azure AD security settings page and not from the MFA settings page. Next, question number 8. It's a similar kind of a question, but the solution is different. You access the Azure portal to alter the grant control of the Azure AD conditional access policy. And the options are A, yes, B, no. And the correct option is A, yes. In question 6 of this video, solution was to alter the session control, but here it is to alter the grant control. Next, question number 9. You have an Azure subscription that contains the resources shown in the following table. RG6 has no tag, and whereas VNet1 has department D1 in resource group 6. You assign a policy to RG6 as shown in the following table. We have sections, settings, and the value. And the scope is subscription 1 RG6. And the exclusions are none. And you can see the further information below. To RG6, you apply the tag rgroup RG6. You deploy a virtual network named VNet2 to RG6, which tags apply to VNet1 and VNet2. To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. In the answer area for the VNet1, the option is department D1 only. And for the VNet2, the option is label value 1 only. Tags applied to resource group are not inherited. By default, this assignment of newly created policy will only take effect on newly created resources. Existing resources can be updated via remediation task after the policy is assigned. Next, question number 10. You have an Azure Active Directory tenant that contains 5,000 user accounts. You create a new user account named admin user 1. You need to assign the user administrator administrative role to admin user 1. What should you do from the user account properties? And the options are A, from the license blade, assign a new license. B, from the directory role blade, modify the directory role. C, from the groups blade, invite the user account to a new group. And the option is B, from the directory role blade, modify the directory role. To assign a role to a user, sign into the Azure portal, go to Azure Active Directory and users, Search for and select the user getting the role assignment. Select Assign Roles from the side menu, then select Add Assignments. Select a role to assign from the drop-down list and save. Next, question number 11. You have an Azure subscription named Subscription 1 that contains a virtual network named VNet1. VNet1 is in a resource group named RG1. Subscription 1 has a user named User1. User1 has the following roles: Reader, Security Admin, Security Reader. You need to ensure that User1 can assign the reader role for VNet1 to other users. What should you do? And the options are: A. Remove User1 from the security reader and reader roles for Subscription 1. B. Assign User1 the user access administrator role for VNet1. C. Assign User1 the network contributor role for VNet1. D. Assign User1 the network contributor role for RG1. And the option is B. Assign User1 the user access administrator role for VNet1. There are several versions of this question in the exam. The question has two possible correct answers. Assign User1 the user access administrator role for VNet1. Assign User1 the owner role of VNet1. Next, question number 12. You have an Azure subscription that contains the hierarchy shown in the following exhibit. You see tenant group, management group 1, subscription 1, RG1, and the VM1. You create an Azure policy definition named policy 1. To which Azure resources can you assign policy 1, and which Azure resources can you specify as exclusions from policy 1? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. And in the answer area, the first one is you can assign policy 2, tenant root group, management group 1, subscription 1, RG1, and VM1. Once business rules have been formed, the policy definition or initiative is assigned to any scope of resources that Azure supports, such as management groups, subscriptions, resource groups, or individual resources. The second answer area, you can exclude policy 1 from management group 1, subscription 1, RG1, and VM1. You can exclude a subscope from the assignment. So here the subscope is mainly tenant root group. Next, question number 13. You have an Azure Active Directory tenant named Conditional.com. You have a CSV file that contains the names and email addresses of 500 external users. You need to create a guest user account in Conditional.com for each of the 500 external users. Here the solution is, from Azure AD in the Azure portal, you use the bulk invite users operation. Does this meet the goal? And the options are A, yes, B, no. And the correct option is A, yes. External users means bulk invite. Here we are using the bulk invite users operations. Next, question number 14. You have an Azure file sync group that has the endpoints shown in the following table. Endpoint 1, 2, and 3 respectively. Cloud tiering is enabled for endpoint 3. You had a file named file1 to endpoint 1 and a file named file2 to endpoint 2. On which endpoints will file 1 and file 2 will be available within 24 hours of adding the files? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. We have the answer area, and for the file 1, the correct option is endpoint 1 only. It is a cloud endpoint and it is scanned by the detection job every 24 hours. And for the file 2, the correct option is endpoint 1, 2, and 3. With the on-premises servers, the file is scanned and synced automatically after it's being added. Sometimes they change the questions in the exams from within 24 hours to after 24 hours. Then the answer is for file 1, endpoint 1, 2, and 3, and the same for the file 2, endpoint 1, 2, and 3. Next, question number 15. You have an Azure App Services web app named App1. You plan to deploy App1 by using Web Deploy. You need to ensure that the developers of App1 can use their Azure AD credentials to deploy content to App1. The solution must use the principle of least privilege. What should you do? And the options are A. Assign the owner role to the developers. B. Configure app level credentials for FTPS. C. Assign the website contributor role to the developers. D. Configure user level credentials for FTPS. And the correct option is C. Assign the website contributor role to the developers. So website contributor role is used to create and manage a deployment. So here we end with part 5. Thank you for watching part 5 of Azure Administrator Associate Real Exam Questions and Answers. We hope you found it informative and helpful. If you liked the video, please like, share and subscribe to our channel and comment for more related topics. We look forward to continuing the journey with you in next videos. Thank you.